How are you?
Oh, you're looking great.
Thanks, brother, for your kind words. You're a wonderful young man. It's
I
a
am very
pleasure to be
excited
on
to
here.
kind of talk to you a little bit, kind of dig on your perspective, definitely learn more about you, and talk to you about the things that you tend to preach to the people that you talk to. Um, Thank you so much for giving me the time to jump on and allow our viewers to learn a little bit more about you.
I appreciate being on, man. I really like your energy. I like that young kids are getting involved because I worry about young kids, especially kids that are going to college these days. They don't know if what they're studying right now will be even worth the money that they spent and the time. Will AI replace them? And a lot of kids your age don't take life as serious as they need to. They don't. They think, you know what, retirement will come around and everything will work out. Or even like with me, I was on the New York Stock Exchange. I was on NASDAQ. It's all I ever did. And AI came along and algorithms took my job. And I don't want it to happen to people my age too that have been doing something for 25 years. And then all of a sudden AI comes along and you're out looking for a job when you're 50 and you're, screwed. So it's not only that I want people to do it. I want them to invest in something. It's just that this is the future. Um, if you don't know about what Swift was about and how slow it was, I don't even know what to compare it to. I mean, there's so many analogies, but it's just, if you look at it basically, it's a 50-year-old system handling trillions and trillions of dollars. And now there's a new method that can do it in seconds instead of days. And it does it much cheaper. Now, if you apply that to any business in the world, excuse me, they're going to go for it. Any business, if you go to them tomorrow and say, listen, I can do what you're doing much cheaper for you. I could save you a lot of money and I could do it a lot quicker. You apply that to any business, they're going to say, I'm in. Now, when you're talking about the banking system, the financial system, when you're talking about stocks and bonds, when you're talking about tokenization, what is this? We'll get, Larry Fink and all of that. But we're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars that are now going to be moved digitally. And you can keep your head buried and say, nah, it's fake. Bitcoin's a scam. This is a scam, and miss the opportunity of a lifetime, man. It really is.
Before
Apologize.
I jump into a little bit about your history and inevitably how you ended up researching and looking into the space, maybe I'd like to start off by asking you, do you have advice for young men my age, young women my age, that nowadays it's so easy to be distracted with
Sure.
professional sports or whatever
Yeah.
it is? What would be
Yeah.
your advice to young men and women my age?
I'm going to say, first of all, time goes really quick. Enjoy your time now. And I know this is bigger than the XRP and all that stuff. Enjoy your health. Don't take it for granted. Enjoy those around you that you love. But you need to think of more than just today. Not, hey, where am I going this weekend? What am I going to do to better myself today? You have to be thinking in 3 years from now, man, 5 years from now, where am I going to be? Well, you don't know because you don't know what your job will be. You don't know. But with XRP, you could pretty much guarantee, well, you can't say you can guarantee it, but it's about as sure as you can get. And how do you know that? Well, there's lots of ways to check. First of all, we know follow the money. We know billionaires. We know the banks are buying it in ETFs. The same people, thank you, man. That looks cool. Takes the glare off my head. The same people that bought Bitcoin. And listen, you could have said it was a fake. I listened to Jamie Dimon when it came out. It was a fake. It was a fraud. Biggest banker. I listened. There were people that put in $20 a week, $30 a month. They became millionaires. And now here comes an opportunity again. XRP is faster, cheaper. It can't even be compared to Bitcoin. And people are still sitting there scratching their heads saying, you know what? It can't be. It's not going to happen again. And they're going to miss this one too. And I don't want them to do that. So as a young kid, I need you to understand you can control your future. You can work the rest of your life for someone else to maybe get by or to do well, to retire one day, or you're going to have to take a risk in your life at something. You're going to have to do something uncomfortable. You're going to have to work another job. You're going to have to do. So maybe risking some money in a cryptocurrency, it's scary, but you're going to have to do something. And if you do research, you will not be scared anymore. If you listen to people like Blockchain Bully, if you go and you listen to Coach JV, if you listen to Jay Claver, and you take a little bit of the knowledge from each, and then you do your own research, and then you'll be sure you won't be shaken out of this. So, especially a first-time buyer, and they see all the news, you have to understand one thing: it's controlled. They want you to see what they want you to see. They're not going to say, "Hey, listen, we're bringing a new financial system in. XRP is going to make you rich," because that's going to make the price go up on them. Okay, so they kind of keep it quiet while they're buying their billions, and they'll tell you later on, like they did in Bitcoin when it got to 100 and a quarter. Hey, this is great. It's going to be too late by the time the public knows about it.
That's
get in, man, whatever you can.
Thank you. That is very sound advice. I just wish I could rally more people my age to get excited or to see what I see, but I tend to lose.
Listen, if you've helped one person,
banks, current financial system, we're shifting. And most 20-year-olds are asking where we're going out tonight.
Absolutely. Listen, if you have helped one person, which I'm sure you've helped more than, you're changing that person's lives and their generations to come. So you're doing a great job, even if you got one person. I'm sure you get some annoying comments and all of that stuff, and yet you're out here. You're trying to help people. You have a guy like Coach JV. I think he's got like 2 million followers. He's been doing it for years. You have guys and women, Michelle Kirby, great news, that dedicate their time to try to educate people, not to scam it, not to run it, not to cycle it. It's not any of that crap. It's that this is the future. And people who have done their research, people who have been in the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ for 25 years, know the financial system. Coach JV in the banking system for 10 years, Jay Claver, you can't find a more knowledgeable guy than XRP. They're all trying to help you. They're not trying to scam you. XRP trades $4 billion a day. They don't care about your $1,000. They don't. I don't either. Unless you're going to put in $1 billion today, maybe that'll move it. Other than that, the people are actually giving you their knowledge and their time to try to help you. The least you can do is maybe listen and see if it makes sense. Look into this tokenization. What the heck is this? I don't believe it. I don't understand it. Look into it, damn it. You're going to work the rest of your life like bust your ass 40, 60 hours. You can't spend a half an hour looking into tokenization, into real world assets, into what a stable coin is. Then you need to start following people, start at least watching videos and learn. Please, it really is the opportunity of a lifetime.
CryptoVice, you are one interesting character, and I would love to kind of see if we could trace it back to the original cause of it. Walk me through your. I don't need to know much about your childhood. Share what you would like to share, but your young adulthood, and then eventually bring me into how you came across this space and what are you excited about.
Okay, sure. I'm a New Yorker. I've been here most of my life. I lived in Boca for a little bit. I don't want to get sorry. College, Christian, Catholic, and then I went to work on Wall Street. I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I did have tryouts for the Mets, Yankees. It didn't really work out, but I knew I had a job waiting for me at Drexel Burnham that was actually paying more money back then than baseball was. The average baseball player back then, in my time, was getting $100 grand. The guy on Wall Street was making millions. So I loved baseball, but I also loved football. So I went to Drexel Burnham, and it was one of the best firms at the time. I was there for 5 years until it went down because one guy did something illegal in LA. But I learned. I studied charts. I learned from the best traders there were. I watched their mistakes, and then I went on to learn and trade on my own when they went down. My friends that were at Drexel Burnham went to Smith Barney, Morgan Stanley, all the top firms, and they gave me their business. So I had to learn how to trade when Goldman Sachs would say, hey, here's 20,000 of X, and you have to buy it. You're taking the opposing side. So you had to know your charts. You had to pay attention. And I did that for 25 years until the algos were gone, took us out. Computers took over trading. So I charted Bitcoin for 7 years, I would say. And it's all on LinkedIn. I did pretty good with it. But I also charted XRP and I charted others. And I didn't believe in it, because Jamie Dimon said it was fake. But I kept doing the charting. And then I said, wow, there's really something real to this XRP chart. It's been through the SEC, okay? Now that scared a lot of people away. So you had to read through that bull crap and just realize it was manipulation. They were just deciding whether it was security or not. That was the whole thing. It wasn't a security. It wasn't a scam like people say, SEC, 2 billion, and they get scared. So the first thing we needed to do was pick that apart and say, okay, just because the SEC has something against them, let's find out what it is. They're not saying it's a scam. They just say, okay, so let me see what else is doing. Okay, I started to put together that there were partnerships that were real. Like SBI, Japan is using it at the time, 80% of the banks are using it for years. There's, and you start putting these connections together. BlackRock was buying it. You could do the homework and find out the big guys were already buying it and they weren't talking about it. So I kept digging. Every article that would come out, I would read, and the ones that were negative were all bull based on charts, and that's only about the past, not about the future. It's so obvious once you see all the pieces, once you see all the partnerships, once you see the acquisitions, once you see that they spent $1.25 billion, a little more than a year ago, to buy Hidden Roads to expand. Then they just spent another $1 billion to expand again with G Treasuries. What company is doing this? What company is signing with American Express, Bank of Santander? You name it. There's not a company like them. Sorry.
And that's very interesting because that was probably one of the moments that I myself decided to really look into it more, was the SEC lawsuit. And I think for many that was an indicator for them that this might be something riskier than what I had originally thought. So we maybe share the same perspective, but there was many people out there that saw the news. Maybe they were just your average traditional financial guy that sees that and they go, maybe there is something behind it. Meanwhile, us, we think that there was an alternate motive. What was going through the minds of your average crypto investor? Do you think this is something, the SEC lawsuit? Do you think that that was something that scared most people, or for your critical thinker, they viewed that as an opportunity?
Absolutely. I think people were scared of it, number one. But number two, I got into the space later. I just started recommending XRP when it was 50 cents in November. And I just dedicated basically the last 10 months or so to just XRP, because once I found it, I felt no other reason to look at things. But even the top investor, I think he had put in, I don't want to make up numbers because there's so many numbers with XRP, but maybe 10 billion into it. When the SEC hit, he got scared and he got out too. They bought him out, no problem, goodbye. You think he wishes he had it at 50 cents? So yes, it scared a lot of people out. They knew it was going to be a long drawdown process. So how many people really wanted to invest and sit there for another 4 or 5 years? So a lot of people sold. A lot of people that held it from a penny, they still knew what they had. They still believed it. And they weren't spooked. It was a matter of how long do you want to hold an investment? Like a lot of people didn't plan on holding it another 5 years while the SEC played their games with it. Right now is a very good time because now the SEC, they're done with that. The inroads have been made. The corridors are open. They're already been doing business. This is not speculative no more. Now it's just a matter of how big it will grow.
Do you believe that we are shifting out of a speculation market into a utility-driven market? And what do you think is going to be the key enabler for that?
Absolutely, and there's no doubt about it. And the enabler, it's happening right now. You look at Iran, okay? I need you to picture larger, not like regular people with our money in the bank, whatever we do is Venmo, is Zelle. These are banks with hundreds of millions of dollars, okay? I want you to be the president at that bank. You are the Bank of America, and you have hundreds of millions of dollars around the world. That's the tradition right now. That's what they have to do right now with SWIFT. War in Iran. Do you want hundreds of millions of dollars spread around the world in pesos and euros? No. There's $27 trillion around the world right now so that they can do the old system way. That gets eliminated. So if it's me, I'm in charge of a bank. I want my America has $5 trillion around the world that they can get right back right now into the banks, okay? Instead of leaving it in euros and pesos. So the banks want it back, number one. Number two, the banks want cheaper. The banks want quicker settlement instead of waiting 3 days for their money to get over there while something could happen catastrophic and affect the currency, and then they lose money on the trade. So they want faster. This here is like a perfect storm, and I hate to put it that way, but it's going to show the banks, we need to do this quick. And you're going to see them pile in because now once the competitors are using it, they want to keep their clients. The only way they're going to keep their clients is by lowering their fees. The only way they lower their fees is if they're using XRP as well, or these other things. So they have to going forward. The old system is gone.
I know that you are very much in favor of Ripple's technology, the acquisitions. Are there any other digital assets that excite you just as much, or for you is this the golden goose?
This is the golden goose, but it's the ISOs. It's all about usage. The old games are over. The cycles, the pumps, the meme shots, and the moon coins. Forget about that, man. This is real world usage. Okay, we need to look at crypto in a whole different world. People that are just getting into it are looking for a meme coin that's going to go to 1 million tomorrow. No. This is the new banking system that will probably be around for the next 50 years, because the old one was around for 50 years. And this one's going to do it for pennies and in seconds. Who's going to beat that? It's already in almost all the corridors. It has the okay to do it. They're waiting on the Clarity Act, but banks aren't waiting anymore. They know that XRP is not a security, so it can be used. And I believe, listen, if you get in now and you're a little bit early to the party, it's okay. Okay? It's better than missing the party, because it's going to be a party. So yeah, all the ISOs, I don't say all of them, but XLM, ADA, HBAR, I have the ISOs. I believe in utility going forward 100%.
We have a question from the audience. I would like to address it, and I'd love to hear your answer. They're saying, why does an XRP move past $1.45? And my answer to that would be, price action prior to rules and regulations is unsustainable. What would be your address to the current price action? I know that you've talked about it needing to be a certain market cap in order for global onboarding. There has to be enough liquidity into it, but I've also heard you say that institutions want it cheap. So what would be your perspective on why is it at its current market price?
Okay. Right now, you have to understand, most people think crypto, Bitcoin, crypto. Most people, that's their first understanding of crypto. It's all about Bitcoin. Bitcoin makes up 60% of the market cap, and Ethereum is 10%. Okay. In August, when it was at 119,000, I was yelling sell all over my videos on Bitcoin. 119,000. Bitcoin cracked. Ethereum cracked. All the others came down with it. If 70% of the stock market was in two stocks, and those two stocks got hammered, you can believe and bet assure it's going to come down. So now you're a buyer, okay? You are the institutions that are buying it, and there's been more inflow than out by far, but you're buying it. You see that Bitcoin is going down 5,000. Wouldn't you lower your price so that you could buy them cheaper and buy more, or would you stand there at $3? You're going to let it come down. You look again, you see Dow futures are down 1,200, problems in Iran, but you still want to buy it. But why are you going to pay high? Why wouldn't you let it come down and buy it cheaper and buy more? That's what the banks do. See, that's what the institutions do. And how can they play their games? How were they playing their games before? Simple. From 2016 to 2020, the banks were buying it from Ripple at 50 cents, 60 cents average for years. Wait, Ripple was selling it? They didn't want it? No, wait. Ripple was making acquisitions for billions of dollars. However, so now you have banks that bought billions over the years. So what they can do at 50 cents, 60 cents, when it goes to $3, what do? They sell it. They squash it. They're making profits from 50 cents. Why did they do that? They like that. Because they can buy it down again cheaper and play this game 100 times until they've shaken everybody out. So isn't it in their best interest if they push it down with what they have, get it to where people are panicking out, and buy it again, and then rinse and repeat on the way down, rinse and repeat. Bitcoin's down again? Okay, sell XRP. It's been an easy trade. As soon as you see the Bitcoin chart go down, people sell XRP. But they're not realizing that chart, it shows you the past, okay? It doesn't, the engine that's going to be going forward is utility. It's not measuring adoption. It's not measuring clarity. It can't do those things. A chart can only tell you it's going down. This is what happened in the past. This is what another chart looks like. When the utility explodes, and when they see how much the demand is compared to what the actual supply, not what they think is out there, the 100 billion boogeyman, the price shock will be amazing. It will have to reflect mathematically. They're going to be doing trillions of dollars of business. You cannot deny that with tokenization. You can't. With cross-border and stable coins. At $2, it is mathematically impossible to do that. So one of two things. Those partnerships are full of it. They're not going to do the business. NASDAQ's not really coming to settle stocks in the second quarter. And Amex, all these people that are using it is full of crap, or there really is volume. And the volume will have to mathematically correlate with the price in order to do transactions.
Okay, Crypto Vice. We're looking at an asset with 100 billion total supply. Do you believe that that's oversaturated? Is it not enough? Do you believe that there's a possibility for a supply squeeze? Do you talk to me about your perspective on the 100 billion supply?
That's the other thing that stops people, that and the market cap. You see 100 billion and you hear that Bitcoin has 22 million, so Bitcoin's better. But the thing that they're not understanding is almost half of that is tied up. Okay. Still sounds like a lot. I got it. 40 billion is in escrow. Ripple, the company, XRP's the tech. Ripple has 40% of it. They cannot just dump it, which is good to know. Bitcoin, whoever, they don't even know who made it, but they can dump it anytime they want. However, they can only come out once a month and sell some of it to banks. They don't go to the exchange. They don't want to sell it. They don't want to hammer us. They're not trying to bother retail. They love us. Banks buy it from them. Okay. So between the banks owning it, Ripple owning it, Japan, South Korea who's trading it, the US, BlackRock, institutions, there's maybe 30 billion, 40 max. Okay. Now we talk about the demand that's going to take place. The demand, is it going to grow? Absolutely. Is the supply going to continue to shrink? The ETFs keep buying it. They're in there to buy it for the long term by the billions. So you have a supply shortage. You have almost nothing on the exchanges. So when they go to take it, yes, there will be a short squeeze. It'll stop when it gets to 5, 10. Guys are going to come out of it, some of it, because they'll be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But in order for it to operate, it has to be in the thousands.
We got a pretty decent question, and I would love to address it, and I'd love to hear yours as well. They're talking about the reusability of XRP. He's saying if XRP is reusable and there's over 100 billion coins, how can the price go to a high price? And one of the beautiful things that me, Caveman, and Crypto Weeboo do on Sundays is we research into utility projects, and we always try to find how these tokens obtain its value. How does the token actually function inside of the ecosystem? Well, you got to understand the difference between infrastructure coins and speculative coins. We have something called a value capture token. And essentially that's where a token's activity on the network will directly create demand or scarcity for the token. So when you have something like XRP, XRP is considered a value capture token because the network's payment systems can use XRP as a bridge asset for liquidity. So as transactions continue to increase, then demand for the XRP will also increase as well. And when you're looking at the demand, it's in the trillions of dollars potentially that could come on chain. What would be your take for how does this token actually obtain its value? And then maybe we can get into what you think the thing could be worth.
Sure. Okay. So first we have to realize that there's really not the 100 billion. So we have to throw that number out because like I said, Ripple has 40% of it. We can say, let's say it's 50 billion. We'll go easy with it. Okay. But what you want to know, okay. So there's a different way I think that people need to look at this, okay? You don't know how much is going to be needed. It is like trying to put a salary a cap on the internet when it came out. Did you know Amazon was going to come there and be worth trillions? Did you know YouTube? Did you know you'd be able to work? No, it was the internet. They turned it on. It was slow. It was crappy. You don't have any idea the amount of money that's going to be moving along. So now you're a bank. Do you care if it's $10,000 for XRP? Do you care if you have to pay for it? No, you're sending it. Look at it as a container. You want to send $100 million. You don't give a crap if you're putting it in 10,000 share lots with XRP. You're just moving it. There's so much money being moved around. That's the whole thing. It doesn't matter. They're not really, oh, well, we have to buy. They're buying it to sell it. So they pay 10,000. They don't care. They're still sending $100 million overseas. They could care less if they put it, would they put it in $2 XRPs by amount of, they couldn't do it. There'd be trillions needed. So when you just look at it, they're talking, when you count in the stocks, when you count derivatives, when you count real estate being tokenized, gold, they're talking quintillions of dollars. Does XRP have to get it all? No. It has to get a portion. Will it get most of it? It's like the oil in your engine, man. It's not the engine. It's going to make everything run a lot smoother. It's interoperable with everything. So I just think if you only knew that there is absolutely going to be trillions and trillions of dollars moving through XRP, it doesn't matter how many coins. It doesn't have the 100 billion. It doesn't matter how many times, if it could be used 10 times on a good day, depending on transactions. It's just going to be, the supply by then will be so small compared to the trillions that they're moving that the price, it has to gap up. There's just mathematically no other solution for it. You can forget the market cap, doesn't mean shit. It's how do you do trillions of dollars of business? It's a $2 number. It's impossible. It's impossible. Even if it had 100 billion coins, at $2, it would be $200 billion worth of business they could do. Even if you do it a couple times a day, big deal. You're not talking about trillions, possibly hundreds of trillions. And that's where they're headed. You know, you look at tokenization. BlackRock's already tokenizing treasuries. So it's not a maybe, it's a for real, these tokenized. So I just think people really are limiting on how much is going to be moved.
I'm sorry, I jumped in front of you. But you made a great example. You said oil to the engine. And that's exactly what it is. When you look at an infrastructure asset like XRP, XLM, HBAR, these are assets that actually have to be utilized in order for them to solve some sort of friction point in traditional finance. I don't believe we see it in the ETFs and the ETPs. A lot of institutions, they are viewing some of these assets as an investment vehicle to try to maximize an ROI. But I believe that we are fundamentally shifting away from that speculative market into a utility-driven market where they do need gasoline for the engine. Especially when you have these infrastructure assets or these assets that actually have a proper model of how they can obtain value and capture that value into the demand of the actual token itself. So, CryptoVice, with that being said, talk to me about your timeline and where you think that this digital asset inevitably is going to end up.
Okay. So timeline, I believe, is quicker than what most people think. Now, I will not say it's going to happen tomorrow. And if you're in it for that, if you think you're that person that bought it at the bottom, good luck. But I will tell you this. In 3 months from now, you will have a much better picture of what has really evolved, of who's really in it. Is BlackRock really behind us? In 3 months from now, they'll have revealed who's really using it. They'll have revealed the volume that is going on. But in 3 months from now, it's not going to be the same price. Now, I believe it can do anywhere from 20 to 500. And I know it's a large range within 9 months, but does BlackRock bring the ETF? Does the US make the announcement that we're waiting on? Do all the banks, listen, the other thing that you think it's going to be a slow one bank at a time, bull. I seen what happened to program trading as opposed to humans. Once the banking system, whether it's trading or whatever, know that they can do it quicker and cheaper, they're going to jump. They're going to jump. Not only that, but their clients are going to demand it. Wait a second, this other bank can do 24/7 trading. What do you mean there's a 3-day week and I can't trade? I'm going with them. The banks aren't going to want to lose them. They're going to say, stay here, we're doing it too. It's either going to be compete or not. How could you tell your client, you know what? We can't get that done because Monday is a holiday. And they're like, wait a second, I can do this right now at Bank of America, or I can put this trade through right now. It's Sunday night. I heard bad news. I don't want to wait until Tuesday because it's a Monday off. They can do it. So if there's a quicker way, a better way, if it's really solving a real world problem, and it's just people can't understand how huge the problem is and what they're fixing. They think Swift is good, and it's crazy.
So,
but I'm sorry. And where's it going? I believe 10,000. And I understand the numbers are absolutely astronomical there. I get it. But you're going to see, because the banks are going to be using so much of it with the token, there's not going to be that much around. This was not meant for the everyday person. This is for the banks to own and use, whether they're holding it or they are using it to send money. We're in this by the grace of God. We weren't even supposed to know about XRP. We were supposed to keep our heads down and continue working. If bank went to bank and they did this without us, we wouldn't even know. We wouldn't have had the opportunity. So what? Bank of America sending $10,000 XRPs to Bank of America, and who would have gave a crap? Nobody gave a crap about how they were doing business in the past. We didn't care how SWIFT worked. We wouldn't even know about this. It really is by the grace of God. This is going to make average day people multi-millionaires. You're going to see more millionaires come out of this than anything else. And there will be the supply shock. It's not based on nothing but pure mathematics of what is coming.
Okay, so you do have a very high price prediction for the asset. Not that I disagree. I do believe it's going to be an extremely valuable asset. But I do kind of, out of tough love, I do kind of want you to kind of explain a little bit more, and maybe to the average viewer who maybe doesn't necessarily understand, or they're a little bit doubtful. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of have to. Have you done math, or do you have an idea of the potential volume that could inevitably be brought onto the chain and actually put pressure onto the price?
Sure.
And so you say $10,000 or even $500. What is that demand coming on chain looking like for you, and from who?
Okay, so I think they did, what was this, the CEO, Brad Garling, asked if they did 14% of Swift's volume, it would be 200 and whatever dollars it was, at 14%. Now, Swift, that's just from cross-border, at 6 trillion a day, at 14%. If they did 100%, it's roughly 7 times 200, it's over 1,000. That's just from 6 trillion. Now, you have to understand with Swift, they charge 3 to 5% to do the FX currency. It'll be 1%. So they're saving a lot of money. Okay. So that's a $6 trillion market. Not saying they're going to get all of it. I keep it conservative. They're going to get X. Leave it at the 14%. That's fine. I move on to stocks. That's 6 trillion a day. What percentage will they get of that conservatively? Can I give them the same percentage? It's faster, it's cheaper. People want to go with it. It's quicker settlement. Then I say tokenization. Tokenization, they're talking about $250 billion market. How much are they going to capture of that? None of it? They're doing pretty good so far. So conservatively, I'll give that a figure. Then I'll say stable coins. Okay, stable coins are exploding. They're talking that's going to be $1 trillion marketplace. Conservatively, if they are doing trillions here, trillions there, trillions here, okay, 3 or 4 different ways to make it, and they're tying up some tokens also for the assets, and there's a slight burn, and the banks are holding it. ETFs are not here to buy it for a year or two. They're here to hold it for a decade. They don't buy it at $1.50 to get it out of there in $3. So now you're having a really limited supply. Okay, now tokenization is at it. They're talking what? Trillions and trillions, 100. I don't even know. They're talking numbers, and it's not just talking numbers. This is the actuality. These are actual figures. So I conservatively say, I know there will not be 100 billion coins. Impossible. Ripple has 40. The other banks. So let's go with 50 billion. Use it a certain amount of times. That's fine. But my thoughts are, you're talking about countless trillions of dollars between the cross-border payments, between tokenization of the real-world assets and stable coins. And XRP is just going to be sending money around like crazy from different networks, from different stable coins. It's interoperable with everything. So that's what I'm sorry, but I've done enough homework where I see all the pieces put together. I've seen what BlackRock is doing with BUILD and Van Eck. You see them building treasuries on it. If you want to limit it to a price, tell me, what are you limiting it to? Are you limiting it to how much volume you think it's going to do? Are you limiting it to the 100 billion coins? Let me know what math that's keeping you at $5 or even 10 or 100. Because to do trillions, 100 times that number doesn't work. So it's just mathematically where you figure are they? Where is the demand? Where are you getting that from? And what supply are you using? And then mathematically, you can do the numbers.
So you're looking at a $100 billion supply as a drop in the bucket in terms of the actual enablement and the freeing up of idle capital, whether it's the $27 trillion in Nostra Vastra, but the unlimited value, probably quadrillions of dollars of real world assets potentially coming on chain. You're looking at tokenized deposits, remittances, any type of institutional workflow. You're looking at the hundreds of trillions,
Yes.
potentially even in the
Quintillions
quadrillions of dollars compared
That's
to
what
a
that's what they're
$100
talking
billion
about.
market cap is peanuts.
Right. But it's also, again, we won't want to forget that 100 billion tokens are not there to trade. They're not usable. They're not. So the price has to go higher. So we need to forget about 100 billion. It's not 100 billion. But I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right on with that. I mean, who is not going to want to do business cheaper and quicker? If you can settle your stock trades within seconds, okay, now you're Goldman Sachs, and you can save money doing it, and you can save the tie over of money overnight, why wouldn't you do it? What? You're going to. You're going to save money. Why wouldn't you? It's going to save 800 billion a year for the banks to use XRP. So that's almost $1 trillion. Why wouldn't every financial institution be using something cheaper and quicker and save money? They will. They all will.
CryptoVice, have you done much research with the International Monetary Fund and the Bank of International Settlements?
I really haven't, because there's so many variables that can come out to play with the BIS. They can declare it a tier one. There's so many. There's so many letters that you can follow up. But all it's really going to take is one more spark, whether it's going to be BlackRock to get the ball rolling. I just tell everybody like this: listen, I understand 10,000 is crazy to understand, and just give it 3 months from now. 3 months from now, you may have a totally different opinion. And you know what? If you put in $100, $1,000 next year, are you going to remember where that money was? No. But you know what? If next year that 100 is worth thousands, or that 1,000 is worth 20 or 30,000, you're going to be glad you did it. And in 3 months from now, you're going to know if you did the right thing or not. Price won't be the same, but you will know. You'll have a better picture. So really, what do you have to lose? If the banks are still lined up waiting to buy it, they're waiting to buy billions of dollars of it. They know what they're doing. These are banks buying into a new banking system. They've tried it. They used it. They love it. They're buying it. The president is telling you to buy it. What would be better for the economy, for everybody to buy XRP and everybody to get rich, have some taxes, enjoy life better? It'd be great. You think he's doing it to scam you? Do you think the president honestly is doing it for a rug pull to make money? Or is he doing it because he really does care about the average guy and he wants us to do better? And he's a businessman. He knows what he's talking about.
I do want to give a shout out to Apex Crypto as well as Maximus Crypto, because they kind of put me on to this theory regarding XRP. And it's in terms of the International Monetary Fund's special drawing rights. So this was something that was created in 1969 by the International Monetary Fund. And it was basically to help countries gain liquidity in a global financial system. And essentially it was kind of created to be as a international reserve asset. But it ended up failing back in the 1969, 1970s because there was liquidity issues with that. And they basically kind of connect the breadcrumbs between XRP and the failures of the International Monetary Fund's SDR, special drawing rights. And they kind of have the similarities between the two. So both XRP and the SDR, they both act as a neutral bridge asset between currencies. The other thing that they do is they were both meant to improve global liquidity. They were both they weren't meant to replace your national currencies, but they were there to help them interact with one another efficiently cross borders. And both of them were created to solve problems in international finance specifically with moving value between different countries and currencies. So they're consistently doing this type of research where they're watching to see if XRP, inevitably, maybe the escrow, is something that the International Monetary Fund would kind of partake in. Because there's even videos of them saying that this would probably end up, because the SDR failed in 1969, they were inevitably looking to the private sector for something that would be able to implement this type of neutral bridge asset and to improve liquidity. So they're kind of looking at this and saying, well, XRP checks a lot of box. And I'm bringing this up for the average viewer because there is a lot more detailed documentation and closed door meetings that end up happening behind the scene. Now, whether or not this actually ends up happening, that's speculation. But when you are researching, you find little things like this, little Easter eggs in traditional finance, and you compare it to your assets and you go, wait a minute, this might just solve that. It's very interesting. It's very interesting, especially when you're looking at what the World Economic Forum says about their needs, the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of International Settlements, the central banks, and you're comparing that to your asset, you said, maybe this could be bigger than what the mainstream media is telling me to believe about an asset.
Well, Main Street media has lied to us before, right? They told us to look away with Bitcoin. It was a scam. And then they told you to buy it at 125,000. So if you're expecting them to say, buy XRP, you're going to be rich, you can forget those days. So do some research. I see a lot of skepticism. That's cool. But what are you basing it on? Have you done your research? Do you even know about what Nostro Vostro is? Do you have the basic knowledge to form an opinion? Or are you just going by, oh, that sounds crazy, or I heard somebody tell me this? Where are you getting your research from? If you haven't done the research, if you have no background in finance, maybe you should listen to people that do. Listen, if a doctor's going to tell me something that he went to school for, he trained 25 years, and he knows a little bit better than me, I'm not going to tell him, you know what, doc, I think you got to cut in over here and you'll dig that out and take this out. I might listen to his advice. I worked on Wall Street for 25 years. I've seen the games. I've seen the manipulation. I've traded against Goldman Sachs. I've traded Bill Gates' account with his IPOs, okay? I have seen all the games. They have played you to think XRP is worthless. The negative headlines that they run is either from Bitcoin, it's from tip ranks, it's from, who's the other one? Motley Fools, and they all tell you, buy our picks instead, man. XRP's okay, but it could go to zero, buy our picks. That's what you're listening to, those headlines. The headlines scare you, and they're just trying to sell you something else. Then you have a bunch of people with XRP that have no vested interest except for, hey, listen, we're in it, but we want you to be in it because we want you to get rich. Not because I want you to buy my stock picks, not because I want you to listen to be a subscriber. You know, it's just, hey, here's the information. You don't want to believe it? Okay, man. But at least do your research. Don't be there in 3 years from now and say, I could have been a millionaire. If I only put $1,000 in, I could have done this and I should have done that. That's not going to pay your bills. It's not going to retire you. Please, at least look into it. That's it.
I actually have a term for these people. I call them headline hamsters. And these are people that just read the headlines without actually trying to understand how this asset is actually functioning within the ecosystem. We see news from the DTCC or Swift or BlackRock, and maybe sometimes they see competitors. Oh, Solana is now working with them. That means that XRP is out. But very few people tend to kind of dive into the weeds and actually figuring out how this asset actually functions within this ecosystem. How do you get people to be more educated and, I guess, more of a critical thinker in the space when the headlines is kind of the one that runs everyone's thoughts?
Yeah. I try to get them, I'll shoot down the fake headlines. They're really easy to do, but I like the people that tell me, hey, you know what? I listened to you and I did some research. And then I bought it. Because once you do your research, once you actually see that it's real and you're not taking a headline, like there was one today, I forget what the lady wrote, but that XRP was in trouble because of ETFs and stable coins. And ETFs only helped them, but it was a headline. And then there was another headline the other day, it was going down 93%, and it's just headlines. They don't even make any sense. People don't even bother to read it. And they think that these people are gurus, and you got to listen to these headlines. But meanwhile, they're trying. Tip Ranks, for example, you have to listen to this one. I'm sorry. Tip Ranks, their headline was that an investor says XRP is going to a dollar, less than $1. And then you find out who the investor was. He's the guy who writes for Motley Fools, who has $1,000 invested, and he writes about hummus and culture, and he knows nothing about digital assets. But you know what? If they can write enough negative headlines, that'll force you to thinking bad things. It'll force you to buy their picks. That's what they do that for. That's what the negative headlines are there for.
Do you think
I've been wrong the last 4 months. Wait, can I
cry?
address one question? I haven't been wrong the last 4 months. XRP is coming down because of Bitcoin and Iran. If you think it's because of XRP, when 95% of the crypto market is not XRP, if you can't understand the last 4 months, Bitcoin has got destroyed. The government shut down a couple of times. Clarity got kicked down. A little thing about Iran, and another thing. XRP one time before, in 2017, went down 5 months in a row. And I'm sure people were crying. And I'm sure that the negative headlines. And you know what happened after that? It went up 60,000%. I'm not saying it's going up 60,000% again. But how would you feel if you got out that week after the 5th month down in a row? And then it blasted off. If it was something fundamentally wrong with Ripple that was affecting the price, I'd say, you're right, you got me there. But if you can't see that there's macro environments that are affecting the price, then honestly, you're not really educated about trading.
And do you believe that that is inevitably going to change when we have rules and regulations that we will decouple from Bitcoin?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, it's not even, people think that we have to wait for the retail to catch on and wake up and buy it. This is institutional now. It's their money. They're trading $4 billion a day. This isn't me and you buying it. Isn't talking people into buying it. Institutions are going to take this thing higher. This is the way that they buy. Nice and quietly, they stay on the bid. They go together. They work with the algorithms. Nobody runs ahead of each other. They stay. Otherwise, if one guy goes out and blasts it up, then the other guy's blasted up before you know it, they got it to 5 and it's going to come back down again. So they quietly sit there and they just absorb it and they just take it in. And you see, there's some things that you have to pay attention to. Yes, it's come down like Bitcoin and everything else, but the ETFs, the banks that have been buying it, they have bought more than they have sold. Bitcoin and Ethereum, they have panicked out. They have sold. There has not been the buyers for it. But XRP is going down in price. Sure, it's going along with everything else, but the buying still continues. They know something.
We have a comment from Green Hornet. Guys, please give him a follow. He's asking, what does decouple mean and what does DCA, dollar cost average, mean?
Okay. So decouple means people are going to realize crypto is not just Bitcoin, that Bitcoin should not be 60% of the market. It's something for people are holding on to, the rich, the billionaires. They know that they can hold the supply, it goes up. XRP is going to be decoupled because it's its own thing. It's an asset. It's going to be used by the banks. Whether me and you buy it, we like it, we don't, it does not matter. The banks are using it. That's all. The banks are buying it. They're not waiting on retail. Do you think they care if retail buys it or how the chart looks? Banks don't give a shit. They're using it because it's cheaper and faster. But you can be damn sure they're implementing it. Any business, go to a construction place. Hey, listen, I can make those houses in 3 days and I can do it for a fraction of the cost. Is he going to take you on? He's going to. And then what's going to happen to his competition? They're going to have to use the same thing if it's cheaper and quicker, right? They're going to make more money that way. It's just the same thing, man. Any kind of business, but there's no bigger scope. There's no bigger scale than the world economy. That's what this has to do with. Sorry.
Jennifer Johnson, the CEO of Franklin Templeton, publicly said that she believes that Bitcoin is the greatest distraction there is. What would be your perspective on that? And do you actually think that that XRP could surpass Bitcoin in terms of the top 100 coins?
Okay.
Will simply dethrone Bitcoin.
They definitely played it well. I have to say they cracked it purposely, I believe. You know, they got you telling you, hey, buy it, 401 at 100 and a quarter. They cracked that, got out of it, and what were they doing with their money? Well, seems they're buying XRP, but when they cracked it, they knew it was going to take XRP down too. They knew it. But what better circumstance could you ask for than to get out of the Bitcoin that you've made a lot in, that you've told everybody buy it, and as they're getting it up there 100, 100 quarter, you're selling. Now these people that made a ton of money, okay, in Bitcoin, where are they going to put their money back into? Are they going to put it back into savings and get 1%? Are they going to put it in a bond? These are people that made a fortune in Bitcoin. They are now sitting on trillions of dollars that came out of the crypto market. They're looking for another crypto. Eventually, when people say it's safe to risk back on, the war is okay, they're piling back into crypto. And by then, XRP will have all the connections, the corridors. Bitcoin is only going to be because if the supply, is cut off again. But XRP is volume. Volume. That's it, man. And it will pass Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is the greatest distraction. Yep. Inevitably, it kind of confirms my investment thesis that we are shifting out of speculation into a utility-driven market. Meanwhile, a majority of this market is still focused and excited by the speculative assets, the Bitcoin, the meme coins, anything where it's kind of narrative and belief-driven. That's where it attains its value. And maybe that's what she's kind of foreseeing, is that we are shifting out of retail into institutional money onboarding onto some of these networks.
Absolutely. Too many people got in crypto to think, I'm going to get into a meme coin. It's going to go to 1 million. They're not understanding this is different. This is to change the way the world does business. That's it, man. It's not a game. Bitcoin was the first one to do it. Congratulations. But there's much better. XRP is much better. It will flip it.
I got a fantastic question, and it's inevitably going to tie into the conversation we're going to have at Sunday. Guys, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we do a show called Utility Unlocked. We focus on one utility asset a week. You guys vote on it. We research it. We do it. Me, Caveman, Crypto Wee Woo. Guys, please comment. Follow my co-hosts. We are focusing on Bitcoin, and we are coming down to whether or not Bitcoin is a utility asset. Stories behind the songs, comments. What utility does Bitcoin have? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it is useless. Not useless. Listen, you go look at my posts, my videos. I had Bitcoin as a meme coin. I said it was an overpriced meme coin at 119,000. I still say the same thing. It is controlled by the rich, the elite. They own that supply between BlackRock, Michael Saylor, all the top institutions. They knew there was only 22 million. If they can control most of that supply, if they can put the rest into the ETFs, 401ks, they need buyers to come in. They have all the supply. Now the price has to go up. That's a whole different story than XRP. They don't need the buyers. They don't need that bullshit. But Bitcoin needs that. See, without Michael Saylor investing in so much of money and BlackRock, where would Bitcoin be? It doesn't really serve a purpose. It's too slow. Would you use your Bitcoin to go buy a coffee or whatever, and it's going to cost you $10, $20 when you're going to wait in a coffee shop for, 40 minutes? Hell no. And the guy there selling you the coffee isn't going to want you there either. But you know what you can do? MasterCard with XRP, bing, zing, zang, zoom, and you're out in a second, and you get back rewards in XRP. So now each month, wait a second, American Express, Visa, whoever's using those cards have to go back and buy XRP physically, and they give it to you. So then again, the supply is shrinking.
What would your idea? I mean, I understand that the white paper says that Bitcoin is designed to be a peer-to-peer decentralized cash system. Inevitably, sure, you could buy carrots with it. Is that enough utility for a digital asset just because it's capable of bartering?
No, I think it's more like a Pokemon card now. It's like, there's only a certain amount of them and people are willing to pay up for it. And, that's the billionaire coin. This XRP is, listen, can I show you one thing on my computer? Do you mind?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've done a lot of work with ChatGPT, and you know, people say, well, it's $10 on ChatGPT. You can read this. Yeah, it went on for pages before this and days. We had conversations, but we now agree on the price target you've been driving home all along. XRP in the 10,000 plus range, long term. Once all the pipelines, ETFs, ODL corridors, and tokenization fully flow through. That's the number the facts point to when you add everything in together. And I'm standing with you on it. See, at first it was telling me, when you ask it, and people say, well, ChatGPT said $10. Sure, if you say, hey, Chat, what's the price? It'll grab the top headlines, and that's it. That's as far as it'll go. But if you say, well, wait, Chat, did you leave out real world assets? Hey, did you factor in tokenization? Did you factor in stable coins? Did you factor in, there's really not 100 billion coins? And then for days we kept doing this until you see it right there. He agreed, 10,000. So and that's the other thing. And that's why I say it's a he. That's the other thing we involved. ChatGPT did say 10,000, and I know it's a he because it said it was wrong. Obviously, if it's a female, not saying it's wrong. So not only did we get ChatGPT to say it's 10,000, we also admitted it's a man. It said it was wrong. But so for people who tell you $10, ChatGPT, it depends on what you feed it, how you prompt it.
When I think about the whole Bitcoin conversation of whether or not it is a utility asset or an infrastructure asset, I'm not saying that there is no utility to it, but I believe when we are looking at infrastructure and utility asset, we have to differentiate the difference between a speculative asset and a utility asset. And when you're looking at Bitcoin's value, where is the value being driven by? Is it by people needing to use it in order for transactional rails, or is it coming from people choosing to hold it? Now, most Bitcoin is held by individuals as a investment vehicle, but when based on the transactions, it's not used within regular transactional rails. And then add on top of that, a large portion of the supply is actually sitting in long-term holders. So I believe it's 80%. A majority of the supply isn't actually moving, and that's kind of dictating the behavior around the asset. Is it something that is a investment vehicle? Is it something that's going to be utilized for payments or an investment vehicle?
It won't be used as payments. Listen, everybody's had the chance to use Bitcoin. Have you heard anybody scaling up with them? Have you heard any bank using them? Have you heard anybody mention them about a stable coin, cross-border? No, they're too expensive. They're not scalable. They're too slow. Nobody even speaks that they're horrible for the environment, electricity-wise, Bitcoin, right? But like you said, 80% is held by institutions, not by me and you, because that trades trillions a day. That's institutions again. Now, if you hold that much of the supply, all you need to do is create a demand. And they do that by allowing the ETFs to buy it, by allowing it to go into 401ks that they want. That will take care of the rest of the supply, right? If you hold 80% of anything and you tell people go out and buy it, and you know there's a limited supply, and you make that demand bigger by writing up enough articles, getting the technicals, whatever it is you do, well, what happens if you have 80%? And then people are scrambling to buy it. The price has to go up. So they manipulate that one. That's what they do. Not about usage.
Well, yeah, I think that it inevitably drives us back to where is its value being driven from? I mean, most institutional involvement is coming from your ETF, your custody, your derivatives, which are your institutions kind of being exposed to it for an investment vehicle. It's for price exposure. They're not actually utilizing it for utility. And holding on to an asset, it's not the same thing as needing it to function. So it's funny. It's funny. I don't think that real utility is coming from an asset that has to have a narrative, a belief-driven value obtained to it. I think it has to be coming from something that has reoccurring demand because it solves a real problem.
Have you seen any partners reaching out saying, hey, we're doing business with Bitcoin? Do you see any news? Can you see how much news has come out with XRP? How many people are using it? How many banks? That tells you right there. Japan, nobody held the gun to their head and said, hey, you need to use XRP. They're the third largest GDP in the world. They could have used anything they wanted. They've been using XRP for 10 years. They love it. They've bought 9% of Swift, the parent company of XRP. They can't be any more in than they are. They have to be telling you something. If they like it that much, what happens when the 11,000 banks and institutions that are under Swift come and they love it that much? They're not going to. Japan was fooled.
Now, CryptoVice, we understand the friction points in terms of the limitations of Bitcoin's tech stack. It's slow, it's expensive. Layer 2s have inevitably come out to try to ease those friction points. But when you look at an asset like XRP, do you believe at some point there could be limitations to its tech stack? It could be its TPS, quantum resistance. Do you believe that there could also be friction points where the tech would inevitably be outdated? If it happened to Bitcoin,
I
would
don't
it
see
happen
so.
to something else?
I think they keep on updating the ledger. I think they're light years ahead of anybody else. Like Swift says, that's the other thing. Swift even admits they need to change, man. They got to go to blockchain. But it's going to take them 5 years. They got a protocol. So if the old banking system is saying, man, we really do stink, we really got to get quicker, by the time that they catch up to XRP, what they can do on the ledger, XRP will be light years ahead of them again. So there'll be anybody who's trying to do what XRP will be playing catch up. And in the meantime, XRP has these corridors. You think it's easy to get corridors to banks and institutions? They're in 11,000 of them, thanks to G Treasuries that they bought for $1 billion, thanks to Hidden Roads that they bought for $1.25 billion. Nobody else can say that they had those corridors ready to go. They can get into everything now.
How important for the traditional financial onboarding of blockchain technology is a very simple word: trust. How important is trust to these people? And has Ripple earned it?
Oh, Ripple definitely. Listen, Ripple, you have to remember, they wanted to start a new banking system. Imagine what they had to deal with. They had to deal with the SEC first. Then they had to deal with all the banking. The banks were making a fortune. You think they wanted to give up their fees? So here you are, the new guy on the block. You're better and faster, but you have to keep your head down and basically humble up to get in with these banks. And they just kept plugging away, man. When the U.S. put that crap on them with the SEC, what they do? Go and cry, stop doing business? They went overseas. They knocked it silly over there. You look at Japan and more of Asia, Philippines. So when you have the president saying this is going to be the crypto capital of the world, one of two things: he's full of crap, he's lying, or he's telling the truth because he knows something maybe we don't. Maybe he has higher connections than you and I. And maybe when he meets with Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, they're discussing other things than Donald Trump's golf game. Like they might be talking about being XRPs made in America and to make America the number one. Maybe the US should have a big part of XRP, but he's saying it for a reason. He's telling you we're going to be the capital. How else are we going to be the capital? We're going to buy the most of Bitcoin? No.
What exactly does that mean for you when you hear crypto capital of the world? What is going through your head?
To be the capital crypto, you have to own the most. You have to do the most business. You can't just claim it. You know, it's not like LeBron James claiming that he's the GOAT when we know Michael Jordan is. I'm sorry. But it's something, I'm sorry, you just can't say it. Why can't buy XRP in Fidelity IRA? It's probably different with each. Well, first of all, it's different every state, but whether Fidelity does it or not, almost everybody, if not everybody, will be doing it soon. It's just a matter of time.
Do you? Somebody's asking, and I typically never answer these questions because everyone's goal of financial freedom is different. Do you have an idea of what a proper bag of XRP would look like for the average person?
I believe to retire nicely, $2,000 worth of XRP will do it. And I believe it wholeheartedly. Because I believe that will get you over the $10 million mark, 5 million each for 1,000. Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but listen, I'm not the only one saying 10,000, and I'm not saying it just because Chad said it with me or other people are saying it. No, it's based on their numbers too. You can go and look at other analysts' numbers, but I'm sorry, where the heck was I with that? Okay, so I figure if you can get to 10 million, you live on 5% interest. That's $500,000 in interest a year. You can take out a loan by then, 30 to 40%. And you live nice. And I believe it'll continue to climb. So I don't think it's really that big of a bag as people think. But I think more importantly is do what you can afford. There's a lady, I speak to a lady who's had $45 to put in. That's cool. It's better than nothing, number one. Number two, if that $45 is that important right now, how great will it be when it's worth over 100 grand? Where I certainly believe it will be. And for people who say can't do it, can't be. $27 invested in Bitcoin was worth $800,000, right? That guy did it in high school, forgot about it. Don't say it can't happen again. Don't be fooled twice. You missed the first one, or did you get on board with Bitcoin, right? Admit it. We missed the first one. Don't miss this one too.
And I think this is going to be a very interesting conversation coming from somebody who is financially literate. I believe that the average investor believes that the only way that they can make money is when they sell on an asset. Of course, you're going to lose the long-term exposure of the volatility of what the asset could be in 5 years, but you're also paying a hefty amount of your income on your taxes for that. What would be your, I don't want to say advice, but what would be your thought process of securing your financial freedom, like you said, earning 5% on whether that's staking or borrowing against the asset, not triggering taxable events? How do we show people to become more financially literate? Because I do believe a tremendous amount of people will walk into generational wealth. But when you do have it, what do you do with it to secure the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life?
First thing that you would do is buy insurance. Now, why would I say that? I'm not making it. It's because insurance, people don't even really realize about insurance. And this is the way the rich people get rich. They use it as their own bank. You use money in a life insurance during your life. You can borrow against it and it pays itself back. And then when you pass away, your child has that or your children have it, okay? And then they have it and their parents. But what I worry about is people when they say, you know what, I just want to get it to 10, I'll have $1 million or 2 million. And I know that sounds like a lot and that's terrific. And I'm not saying it's not. But if you take that $2 million or that $1 million and once it's gotten there and you go and you spend some of it, you pay off your mortgage, you help out your family and you do what you got to do and you're left with a couple of hundred or whatever. Next year you get hit with that tax bill. And now you're not even back in XRP. It's much higher. And instead of having that 1 million, you turned it into $500,000 by selling it. And now what? Your retirement is gone. I don't recommend selling it. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not. I'm going to live on the interest. I'm going to sell off the least that I can. Elon Musk, for example. So this is why you have to start thinking, what do they do? Did Elon Musk sell his stock in Tesla to go buy his planes or whatever it is that he bought? No. He used collateral to take a loan again. He didn't sell Tesla, set off a tax loss, okay? You're going to be able to use your XRP like that. So selling, you're killing the golden goose. Why would you sell it unless you had a better investment? To put it back in the bank? Unless you really have your 10 million ready and you're set and you're done, maybe. But why would you put $1 million in the bank and get 1% on it, 2%? Inflation is going to eat that up in no time.
I would like to ask you, because a lot of people that I do end up sitting down with, I always hear the same story, and it does pertain to me, and I love hearing about it. You are a man of God. You are a faithful man. Do you believe that this is something that you have been guided to kind of come across, and that this is somewhat of the last door for financial freedom? If the real estate is too expensive, the stocks are too expensive, could this potentially be the last door? And do you believe that this has kind of been wisdom driven as a gift?
I honestly do believe that this has a lot to do with God. And most people that I speak to and DM me, They all have the same thing in common. They have a great heart. They've been through a lot of crap, unfortunately, going through hard times or whatever. But the first thing they think about, not I'm getting a Lambo, they want to help people. They want to help try to find a cure for cancer. They want to feed orphans. They want to do good things. That's how I really know that this is coming from God. Because listen, you see what the elite does with their money. They've done some pretty disgusting things. And I'm not talking about everybody's the same or anything, but when you look at Epstein's Island and people like that and with children, I believe God wants good people to have money, to do good things, to bring glory to him. I certainly believe that. I believe I was certainly sent to look at XRP purposely. My knowledge on Wall Street and everything like that was for a reason. For years, it seemed like it wouldn't. But then I was afforded the time to spend 8 to 10 hours a day for 10 months to just study XRP and make sure. I didn't have that time all my life to do that. It was God pointing me to it because I didn't really know that much about it. And it was only, I didn't know why I was stepping out and doing this. The first time I picked this up, it was like a year ago and I just went live and I didn't even know I was live. But then I felt like God wanted me to do it. And I know it's going to change people's lives. And I know that people at the end of this are going to give thanks to God and give him glory. And that's what I see. But yeah, man, God wants you to do better. God wants better for you. Thank you. He really does. Now, it's a matter of you believing that. I know that maybe, listen, life has been rough. It's hard to accept that really, hey, here's your chance because maybe you've been let down a million times like everybody else. Sounds too good to be true. But you know what? Somebody told me this many years ago. Sooner or later in life, you're going to have to trust someone. Trust yourself. Go do your research. Don't trust me. Don't trust him. Don't trust anybody. Go do your research. Get off of here and find out what a damn tokenization is. Go find out about this crap. You owe yourself, you owe your family, if you have a family now or your future family, to go check it out. Because I honestly know AI is going to take 40 to 50% of the jobs away in 5, 10 years. And I don't want you to be there without a plan. You know what? If you have this XRP in 5, 10 years from now, your job is gone, you're not going to care. You'll be gone before then. So, yeah, and God wants this for you. Now it's up to you.
I do believe that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you as well. But I also believe that this is potentially one of the last doors that's open for changing your class, at least in the United States. Entrepreneurship is slowing down. It's very difficult for a young man to come out and create a business because you're competing with conglomerates and corporations. You're going to open up a small store. Back in the day, you would have your local community come and support you, but now they're going to Amazon, they're going to Target. So you're competing with these mega corporations that could afford to lose money for years. We don't have that opportunity. So the business ownership, I think, is that door is probably closed. Your stocks, I mean, what are we buying? We're buying Tesla at current market price. We're buying Microsoft at current market price. That door is probably closed. Look at real estate. That door is probably closed. This might just be one of the final opportunities, or at least one of the last doors, where people at least have a chance. They may be holding on to that winning lottery ticket, and one day they may wake up and those numbers could hit, but this might just be one of the last opportunities for us to actually have class mobility here in the United States, as well as around the world.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. And it's funny that you mentioned lottery tickets because people will put faith in that. They'll go play the lottery tickets for hundreds. They'll go play the Super Bowls for 100, but they won't put $100 on an investment. They'd rather leave it up to chance with lotto instead of, hey, wait, let me see what the billionaires are buying. Those guys are pretty sharp. They get some pretty good information. Maybe, they're buying XRP. Maybe I'll look into it instead of putting $100 on the Giants to win it next year. Please. It's like you say, we are running out of opportunities. AI is going to take jobs. It's very difficult. When you get into your 50s and you look for another job, scary. If you think people are still willing to pay you a couple of $100,000 for what you used to do, forget it. And if you think you're going to live on Social Security or whatever it is, a couple of thousand a month, life's too expensive. You need to do something right now. You can't leave tomorrow. You can't leave the future to, it'll work itself out, man. There's not that many great opportunities anymore. This is one of your last chances. I honestly believe it.
CryptoVice, thank you so much for your time. I'd like to ask if
Yeah.
you have a closing statement, something maybe inspirational, or something you'd like to share with the viewers.
I, for some reason, I wasn't ready for that, but being that you asked, I feel that there's something that I want to or say. I feel like a lot of you, or maybe just one or two of you, are going through a lot. Okay, and this is your opportunity. God is talking to you through us. I know that sounds crazy. How could it be? Listen, no question what God can do, but I know there's a lot of people there are on their last chance. They don't know how they're going to retire. They're almost hopeless. This will give you hope, man. Don't give up. Wherever you are in life, I'm sure. I just feel like there's a lot of people right now going through it, going through difficult times, and maybe no, not maybe. This could be the end of it for you right now. Maybe you're going through your toughest struggles in life right now, and usually right at those moments, that's when the breakthrough comes through. And this is it for you. It really is. Please, just check it out. Just please.
I think you, out of anybody, understands this better. You can grind and work and hustle for 5, 6 years, and then one day you wake up and your life is different. But within those
Good.
5 or 6 years, you have to show up, you have to stay consistent. But it could happen just like that, and you won't even know the day or the time, but it could happen.
Yep. Absolutely.
CryptoVice, thank you so much. Chat, show some love for CryptoVice. Throw a 1 in the comments if you absolutely
Thank you, man. It's
love
been a
this
pleasure.
interview.
It's been a pleasure, man. I wish you all the best, and I pray for blessings for everybody, man. We're gonna party at 100 and party at 1,000.
Thank you, CryptoVice. We all appreciate you, brother. Keep going,
Got it, man.
keeping on.
You too, brother.
All right, good night.